We've all done things in our lives that we look back on and think, oh Jesus Christ, what was I doing? Whether it's a questionable choice of haircut, a severe fashion faux pas, or showing a little too much emotion over a boy band splitting up, we've all done things we'd rather forget. The video games industry is no different, and over the years we've seen various trends that we wish we could repress from our memories. Be it a ridiculous catchphrase that just seems to be everywhere, awkward advertising, or corporations trying and failing to get down with, as the kids say, the kids. Sadly, it seems that as soon as one of these awful crazes goes away, there's something just as shudder-inducing to take its place. So for this list, we're going to mosey on down the dark alleyways of gaming history to look at some. Buckle up, boys and girls, this one's going to be agonizing. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 most cringeworthy video game trends. Number 10. Generic gaming apparel. Here at Team TripleJump, we are, for the most part, a simple bunch when it comes to fashion. If it's summer, we'll be happiest in a nice cotton t-shirt and maybe a pair of shorts. And come the winter, we'll switch those up for a cozy hoodie and a comfortable pair of jeans. Ah, lovely. Whilst we will occasionally venture into shirt designs that extend beyond our own merchandise, available now at TripleJumpShop.com, we simply cannot abide generic gaming apparel. You know the sort of thing I mean. They're the t-shirts you can buy from your local market or wish.com for a few quid that bear such wisecracks as "a day without gaming wouldn't kill me, but why risk it?" and "if you can read this, I was forced to put my controller down and re-enter society." Not only are such slogans barely funny, but most of them are downright insulting and imply some kind of social inadequacy or other. We get it, world. You think that we video game enthusiasts are a bunch of sad losers who need to get out more. It's a tired stereotype that we are sick of hearing, quite frankly, and it's not going to make us buy your cruddy, cringeworthy shirts. Number 9. Gamer food. Hey, you there, gamer. You like staying up all night playing the coolest new first-person shooter, right? Well, then you should try our new high-calorie, zero-nutrient snack, TripleJump. Because we all know that you're probably a sad recluse that doesn't know how to make proper food. Bet you got the t-shirt to match as well. This is the sort of embarrassing thing we assume is employed by the marketing departments of various companies when they try and target their food products specifically at gamers. And such advertisements once again have that age-old implication that we're all losers living in our mum's basements. Usually attached to the promise of a special in-game item, these promotions are nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to make a quick buck off whatever AAA title is big that month. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the odd pizza as much as anyone, but the likes of Mountain Dew and Papa John's seem to have the impression that all gaming fans do is chug carbonated caffeine all day and eat their body weight in cheap mozzarella. Personally, I prefer a nice quinoa salad with my online multiplayers. The use of a fork means I don't get grease on my controller, plus people don't have to worry about my cholesterol levels. Heart health is no joke, people. Number 8. Rick and Morty marketing, just generally. Allow me to begin this entry by clarifying that Rick and Morty in and of itself is not cringe. The trail of Pickle Rick screeching fans it leaves in its wake, however, is incredibly so. Over the years, it's been reasonably commonplace for publishers to employ the talents of celebrities or pop culture icons in order to sell games. Though as diverse as the famous faces have been, the outcome is usually pretty similar, i.e., moderately embarrassing. Presumably, whatever genius was behind the strange Rick and Morty PS5 and Death Stranding adverts failed to realise that not only did the pair's cameo make absolutely no sense, but that most people would see it for precisely what it was: a cringeworthy, feeble attempt to hawk products through the use of a popular IP. While the Death Stranding ad at least makes the effort to place the duo into the world of the game, the PS5 one exerts no such energy, instead opting to have Morty weakly extol the virtues of the console, while Rick just sits and counts money in the the background. Still, at least it gives fans of the show a brand new irritating catchphrase to yell at one another in public.
Gotta eat the baby, Morty.
Shut up, James! Jesus! Number 7. Ill-thought-out E3 presentations. It just wouldn't be a list about the most cringeworthy aspects of gaming without at least giving a nod to that perennial purveyor of second-hand embarrassment, E3. You might think, after a quarter century of the Electronic Entertainment Expo, that developers would have nailed the formula for crafting a successful presentation. You just need to send out a semi-charismatic presenter to tell everyone about your game, and then roll a trailer or something. It's really not that hard. Alas, there's still usually at least one segment at each E3 that will leave us hiding behind the sofa and begging a higher power for it to stop. Some of the highlights, or rather lowlights over the years, have included the Connectimals presentation from 2010, in which a little girl is left to hold the room for a solid 2 minutes by playing with a digital tiger, the Wii Music presentation from 2008 that features far too much unironic dad dancing, and Jamie Kennedy's drunken antics at Activision's conference in 2007. There are in fact so many of these toe-curling blunders that they've managed to make a list all of their own, so go check that one out afterwards if you feel we've not dispensed enough cringe in this one. Number 6. Fortnite dances. Up until a few years ago, the term flossing was just something you lied to your dentist about doing. But more recently, it's become synonymous with young teens flailing their arms about and causing a great deal of embarrassment to their parents. For those lucky enough to be unfamiliar with the phenomenon, Fortnite dances, or emotes, are unlockables within the game that allow your character to boogie on down for the benefit of other players. Some come with the base game, whilst others can be purchased with, you guessed it, real-world dollary-doos. Oh boy, hefty levels of cringe and microtransactions. I think our writer might be trying to kill me. While it is moderately impressive to see some of the more complex moves being recreated competently, we just can't help but curl up into a ball and wait for the ground to swallow us up every time we see cool YouTube parents, did you hear my air quotes there, trying to get in on the craze. Or even worse, the likes of Jimmy Fallon or Hillary Clinton. Oh, stop dabbing, you meant to have politics to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for breaking out some smooth moves, but you'll never catch me or Ben Potter doing anything so ridiculous as a Fortnite dance. Shut up. Number 5. Console fanboys, or girls. To an extent, we're all guilty of coming down on one side or the other of the big console debate. Is Xbox better than PlayStation, or does Sony have the upper hand? There's really no correct answer, as both consoles have their pros and cons. But to hear console fanboys talk, you'd think that there could only be one winner, and that the loser should just exit the contest altogether. The general rhetoric tends to centre around the availability of titles for each machine, with Sony fanboys parading the PlayStation's long list of successful exclusives, and Microsoft stans waving Game Pass in everyone's faces, rightly so. Now, there's nothing wrong with landing on one side of the fence, but this small subset of gamers really do embarrass themselves by taking things to the extremes, often going as far as to trash the quote-unquote opposition and its fans for simply not holding the same point of view. Oh, sinful. At the end of the day, consoles are just a vehicle to enjoy games, and whilst, yes, PlayStation exclusives are great and Xbox Game Pass is a wonderful service, the whole console war thing is ultimately just a big old bag of cringe pushed in our faces by boys with small penises, or girls with small girl penises. What do you call those again? Number 4. Leet speak. In a few thousand years or so, when global warming has inevitably wiped out a good portion of humanity, historians will uncover a server full of online conversations from the early 2000s and spend years trying to decipher the code. And once they do, they'll probably cringe so hard that their faces melt off as though they've just opened the Ark of the Covenant. That's right, we're talking about leet speak, the linguistic trend of decades past that saw English grammar books tossed firmly out of the window and words we know and love replaced with numbers and utter nonsense. So here is Peter Austin's quick guide to speaking in leet. First of all, don't. You'll look like a moron. But if you're going to insist upon it, then you'll need to replace all the letters in the words you write with similar looking numbers. For example, the letter E becomes a 3, T becomes a 7 because they look alike, don't they? And I become a sobbing mess on the floor when I realise people used to unironically type like this. For the most part, the use of leet has died out, but every so often someone will slide into our DMs to call us a noob with zeros, and we find ourselves violently cringing as though we're right back in a year that also had 2 zeros in the middle of it. Number 3. Gamer portrayal in the media. Although video gaming has been around in one form or another for the best part of 5 decades, and even longer if you count the very early examples from the 1950s, the media at large still has a hard time depicting us video game aficionados in any sort of meaningful, realistic way. We've already alluded to this problem in a couple of our previous entries, but for clarity, the issue is that film and TV producers seem to think that we're all a bunch of sad losers that live either alone or with our parents, and have some form of inadequacy when it comes to finding a romantic partner. I'm engaged, thank you very much. So what if she's a body pillow? If it's not the strong implication that we're all incels, it's the classic stance that anyone who so much as goes near a copy of Mario Kart is likely to commit some sort of violent atrocity. Whilst, yes, there have been moments where the thought of maiming our mate Steve has crossed all of our minds when he's hit us with a blue shell mere inches from victory, it may surprise you to learn that, for the most part, we game enthusiasts are actually well-rounded adults with jobs, personal lives, and a decent level of impulse control. In other words, we're just like any other person with any other hobby. We're not asking for much, media industry. We just want you to be better. Number 2. LEEROY Jenkins. World of Warcraft has been popular amongst MMORPG fans ever since its release in 2004. However, it wasn't really in the consciousness of non-gamers until the following year, when one man brought us a phrase that we now all shudder to hear. Before attempting a raid, the Pals for Life guild got together to meticulously plan the attack, with their leader coordinating who should perform which spells and when, and the group even going as far as to calculate their chance of success. After clearly not listening to the strategy, player Ben Schultz dove headfirst into the dungeon, screaming the immortal words, "LEEROY Jenkins!" much to the bemusement of the rest of his party. Overnight, the catchphrase was everywhere, becoming something of a war cry for those acting without fully thinking. Admittedly, it was quite funny upon first viewing, but it was very quickly elected the mayor of Cringetown once every Tom, Dick and Harry was yelling it across the school playground. Sadly, this is one bit of toe-curling pop culture that doesn't look like it's going away, having been parodied in everything from How I Met Your Mother to Family Guy, and even as recently as 2020 in an episode of Pinky and the Brain. Oh, why must they continue to torture us in this way? And number 1, extreme rage quitting. Look, we've all been there. You're trying to have a nice session with your favourite game, and things just aren't going your way. Most of us will just utter a few choice swear words, turn off the console, and then go and do something else for a bit. But the odd few allow their emotions to get the better of them. And it's from these moments that the most delicious cringe doth flow. There is a plethora of examples peppered across the internet of games reducing their players to a primal state, often with explosive results. Some have tantrums, the likes of which we haven't seen since we were in nursery. Others will take their rage out on whatever piece of furniture happens to be in the vicinity, and the most unhinged will go as far as to completely smash up their setup. Not only is this behaviour completely embarrassing for those who do it, but it also gives the rest of us a bad name. So the next time you're starting to feel the anger rise within you, maybe just go make yourself a cup of chamomile tea instead. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and take a shower to try and scrub off all of this cringe. I suggest you do the same.